Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. But on this one, this is not about a storyline that has to deal with chaos and disruption. This one is about Game 7 of the NBA Finals that was on 2 nights ago. What a game and what a series. I did an earlier video about, I think, after Game 1 or 2, highlighting that I thought it was going to go 7 games. I thought those two teams, Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers, were pretty much evenly matched, even though I think OKC's superstar, SGA, is a little more offensively talented than the Indiana Pacers superstar in Tyrese Halliburton. But I think there's some things that Halliburton does in the passing game, is getting in the passing lanes, defensively, some of his prowess equals SGA. So outside of SGA's exceptional scoring, I think that him and Halliburton, the two stars for the two teams, were equally yoked to a certain degree. And so, as you remember, in Game 1, this tells you how life works, where life is full of dichotomies. And in that example that I'm going to give you would be, well, with Tyrese Halliburton. In Game 1, who makes the last second shot to win and take Game 1? Tyrese Halliburton. So he's on top of the mountain. He represented himself well as the leader of that team. The stars are lining up, and it looks like Indiana was headed in the right direction. They stole Game 1. They stole Game 1, and Tyrese Halliburton was on top of the world. But this tells you how life has its peaks and valleys. It has its stillness in the water, and then it has its major waves, because by the time Game 7 came around, we know that Tyrese Halliburton, I think in Game 3, 4, he had injured his calf muscle. So he goes from the top of the peak, and he's starting to make a divergence from a health standpoint down that mountaintop. So by Game 3 or 4, he was having a right calf problem. And by the time we get to Game 7, it's 3-3 back in Oklahoma City. And Indiana started out extremely well. Tyrese Halliburton had 9 points. And so he was making a divergence back up that hill. And then all of a sudden, what happens? He's dribbling the ball, he slips, and apparently, when you first saw it, you thought he re-injured his calf muscle. And then come to find out, the way he was pounding on the floor and looking in disgust and in pain, it kind of reminded you of the Jason Tatum injury against New York. And it ended up being his Achilles in that same right leg. So what probably happened from an anatomical standpoint, since there was a strain on his calf muscle, that muscle was injured. He ended up putting a heavier burden probably on his Achilles. And ended up rupturing it. You got to remember, all your power is coming from your glutes down through your hamstrings to your calf muscles, and then into your foot and your Achilles. And your body is just like a car. If one part is damaged and you don't get it fixed, something else is going to fall apart. And I believe that's what happened. And this goes into load management. However, this was the most inappropriate time for Halliburton to have an injury to his leg. There's no time to take off. Maybe he could have took off Game 6, but you're talking every game is like an NCAA national championship game. Every game in that 7-game series counts, so he needed to play. He was kind of between a rock and a hard place. But I think he ended up injuring that Achilles because he had a calf strain, and it was just too much force placed on that leg when he tried to make that move forward, and he fell and injured it, very similar to Jason Tatum. And what are the similarities between those two? Well, both of them are the stars of their team. And remember, both of them were Olympians last year. And of course, Jason is going to be out for a year. So remember, life is full of learning lessons. The day you stop learning is the day you start dying. Also, life is not about specific destination points. It's a continuum on the journey. So Halliburton gets injured. He starts off the game well, but I think there's a few caveats on why Indiana didn't win. Remember, Indiana, by halftime, I think Indiana was up by 2. And they were, even though Halliburton was out, they still had a chance. But I think what took place, Chet Holmgren played extremely well. Jalen Williams, the kid from the University of Santa Clara, the 11th pick, he played. You talking about Batman and Robin. You talking about Jordan and Pippen. When you got SGA, the Jordan type, and then Jalen Williams, the Robin type to the Batman, which would be the Scottie Pippen to the Michael Jordan. Jalen Williams complements SGA extremely well. He played extremely well. But that third piece, Alex Caruso, you talking about a 6'5" guard who went to Texas A&M, came out in 2016, undrafted. I think he was the missing piece. He was unbelievable. Isaiah Hartenstein did extremely well. And you got to remember, OKC starts 2 7-footers. Chet Holmgren, 7'1", 7 feet. I think Isaiah Hartenstein is 7'1". So they're old school in their lineup. They're not all perimeter players. They got 2 7-footers there. That caused a challenge for the Indiana Pacers. Miles Turner had some trouble. I think he needed to step up just a little bit more in the 3 areas of the basketball game: points, assists, and rebounds. Pascal Siakam played his butt off. He is the Robin to the Batman of Halliburton. Pascal Siakam is a tough player, and he's come a long way and did extremely well. I think Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell, who should have supplicated Alex Caruso, I think they didn't play as well in Game 7. I think Alex Caruso played better than both of them put together, and the things that he did in Game 7. Alex Caruso, I think he signed a $40-something million deal, but he is worth every dollar, and they need him moving forward for sure. They should not lose him. I think one of the biggest issues with the Indiana Pacers was they didn't double SGA in the last game. They didn't get the ball out of his hands. They kind of did that big boy where they allowed Andrew Nembhard to play SGA one-on-one and straight up. And of course, we know they're friends from Canada as kids. But I think Andrew should have given him different looks one-on-one. I think Andrew kept facing him, sticking his chest out and receiving the bump from SGA. He kept allowing SGA to go left. He should have been making him go right and then have him turn and face the basket. For a lot of right-handed shooters, we love to go left and then pull up because there's not a lot of turning that takes place. You're already kind of facing the basket, dribbling left. SGA loves to dip that shoulder and let that elbow out to create some space. He does that so often. I'm surprised that the referees don't call an offensive foul occasionally. He was bumping Nembhard quite a bit, but I think Nembhard kept playing him straight up and down. He didn't make him send him left a couple of times, then make him go right 3 or 4 times, and then Indiana needed to shoot a second player at SGA to get the ball out of his hands. I think the other problem that Indiana had was they did not utilize the mid-range game. They overlooked a ton of shots inside the top of the key free throw line area, especially Aaron Nesmith. He seemed out of whack. It was either a wild three or straight to the basket, and it was getting blocked. He had several opportunities right inside the inside the top of the key where he could have shot a two. He looked rushed. Benedict Mathurin, same way. Here we go with the new era of NBA basketball. They sat out at the three-point line way too much, or they drove directly to the basket and trying to shoot over those 7-footers with those wild shots. There were not open looks straight to the basket. There were several times that those guys like Nesmith, Aaron Nesmith, and Benedict Mathurin, they could have dribbled and then raised up and shot. I think Obi Toppin was the same way. He stays out at that three-point line way too much. He's a big body. He played well in the beginning, but then he got lost in the sauce as that series went on, and he looked a little bit confused in what he needed to do with the basketball. Also, when you got 2 7-footers sitting down in that paint, 6'10", 6'11 guys, that basket disappears. But if you take 2 or 3 hard dribbles, or 1 or 2 hard dribbles, and shoot that mid-range, it makes all the difference in the world. It opens up. The defense is the same way in the NFL. You got to run that ball in between the tackles several times to open up the space for your wide receivers to run their routes. And I think that Indiana, they kind of panicked, and that's where they missed Halliburton. Halliburton knows how to get to that basket, teardrop it. The mid-range game hurt them. There was 2 areas, I think, that hurt them the most, Indiana, and why they lost. They didn't give SGA different looks defensively. They allowed Nembhard, they allowed him to play him one-on-one and straight up and down. And then on the defensive end, they didn't double SGA enough. They allowed SGA to get inside the paint, and he did a lot of mid-range shots, made a lot. 90% of his stuff is mid-range, same way with Michael Jordan. And then the second part, I think on the offensive end, Indiana didn't utilize their mid-range game, or it would have been a lot closer. This was a great series. It took you back to the late 80s, early 90s. There was team ball playing. It was a great NBA series for 2 mid-major markets. I think it did a great job for the NBA, and both teams and both players utilized their strengths, and it was a great series. Both of those teams will be back next year. What a great NBA Finals.